Right. So this is the last concept related to object-oriented programming, because we have discussed abstraction, encapsulation, and data hiding, and also inheritance, including what is abstract class, what is final class, and so on. Okay. So the last concept is polymorphism. And this is the hardest to understand. Okay. So this is not as easy as abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance. And this is the concept that most of the students, they don't understand. So they think that they have understood by memorizing all the bullshit in the world, but actually they don't know. So therefore, they are not confident when you finish your degree or whatever. They are not confident enough to do your go and work in the industry. In final year, they are not confident enough to do their final year project simply because they are not confident. They don't know what is polymorphism, right? So they think that something else is polymorphism, something that grade two students understand. Okay, right. So therefore, let's discuss what is actual polymorphism in software development is, not fake things that all the bullshit others talk. Okay, so actual thing is advanced. The reality is advanced, but you must face the reality. Okay, if you want to be a software developer, if you want to develop software. Right. So we are going to discuss that actual polymorphism that software engineers use. Okay. Right. So this is the agenda. So introduction to polymorphism, class hierarchy and interfaces, and practical usages of polymorphism. Okay. So today we'll be doing a lot of coding again to demonstrate what is polymorphism. And I try to do it slowly because this is something like more than 95% of the students, they have no clue about what is polymorphism. Right. So what is polymorphism? The literal meaning for the word, English meaning. Poly means many. Morphism, it's related to forms. So polymorphism means many forms. Okay, many forms. So I'm only discussing the object-oriented polymorphism. So when it comes to object-oriented programming, polymorphism means an object can take many forms, because class represent objects of same type. You can say class can represent many forms as well, but the better wording is an object can take many forms. It is many forms, okay, not any forms, many forms. Many means more than one forms, but not every object can take more than one forms. Some objects can take more than one forms. Okay, right. So if your class is not inherited from another class, then of course it can take only its own form. Or in Java, there's a form called object. So the reason is, if your class is not extended, if you just have a class foo, so that means it's implicitly extended from a class called object. There's a class in Java called object. Right? So there's a class in Java, built-in class called object. So if you just create a class without extending from any other class, it is actually extended from class called object. Okay, say this is my foo class. You don't need to write this. So if you have not extended your class from anything, implicitly it is extended from object class. Right? Say you have a class called A, which is extended from, say you have class called B, which is extended from your own class called A. Now A is not extended from anything. So then implicitly this A class is also extended from class called object. There's a class called object in Java. Okay. So therefore, what are those many forms? Many forms are, say, if it is a foo object created from the foo class, you know that you can create foo objects from foo class. Your foo object can take its own form, that is foo form, or any of its supertype forms. In this case, it is only implicit object form, because object is a implicit class that extends your foo class. So therefore, your foo object can take the form of foo or form of object. If you create a B object from B class, remember B extend from A is not extended from any class, so therefore implicitly it is extended from object class. So my B objects, say B1, B2, and so on, this is foo1, foo2, and so on. Your B object can take its own form, that is B form, or any of its supertype forms. So what are supertype forms? My B1 object can take, or my B object can take B form, A form, or object form, because implicitly A is extended from object if A is not extended from anything. Okay, so that is what polymorphism is. Right? That is what polymorphism is. An object can take its own form or any of its supertype form, explicit or implicit supertype forms. And the other thing is, if a class has implemented any interface, or its supertypes classes have implemented any interfaces, your object can take any of these interface forms as well. Still, we have not discussed about interfaces. Later, we will discuss it. For example, there's an interface called I1. If my B class has implemented interface I1, then my B objects can take B form, A form, object form, and I1 form. If A class has implemented another interface, I2, so then my B objects can take B form, A form, object form, I1 form, I2 form. Okay, so be very serious. And there's another thing, if I1 interface is extended from another interface called say I3, then my B object can take the form of B, A, object, I1, I2, sorry, I1, I3, I2. Any of those forms can be played by my B object. That is called polymorphism. So my B object not only can play the role of B, it can play any of these forms. That is what polymorphism is. Okay? That is what polymorphism is. If someone asks what is polymorphism, when you go for a job interview, if you draw this kind of a diagram and give that answer, and if you are not just memorize this and go there, give that answer, that is not going to work because they are going to ask follow-up questions. But if you know what this concept, and if you are very confident about what I'm talking, of course, still you are not, but maybe after some times. So definitely you are going to get the job. There's no doubt. Of course, not just one that question, but that is the best answer. I told you, you must have the best answers in this world, not anyone else. Complete answer, nothing to add, nothing to remove. Perfect answer. So what is the perfect answer about polymorphism? An object can take its own form or any of its supertype forms or any of the interfaces forms that itself or any of its supertype has implemented. So that is called polymorphism. If anyone tells anything else, that is bullshit. They just want to fool you. They just want to fool you and tell that, okay, now you know polymorphism. Actually, they don't know polymorphism, therefore you also don't know polymorphism. Okay, so this is what polymorphism means. Right, so that is what is polymorphism. What is polymorphism? So then the multi-million question is what? Why polymorphism? Because if you don't get a reasonable answer for this, don't continue listening to that guy. Stop it. Because you can say, I don't want to learn anything that is not useful. So why polymorphism? Why polymorphism? So now you must have a good understanding about why abstraction, why encapsulation, why data hiding, why inheritance. I hope now you have perfect answers for those. So likewise, you must know why polymorphism. Why polymorphism? What is the reason? why polymorphism is supported by object-oriented programming languages like Java, C Sharp, C++, and so on. Okay. So the answer is little bit advanced. It is not as simple as explaining what is a control structure, what is operation, and so on. Okay. So if I want to give a short answer, the use of polymorphism is you can write reusable code or reusable frameworks. So the better word is reusable frameworks. So what is the answer for the reason for inheritance? Reusable code. What is the answer for use of polymorphism? Reusable code. So you can see both concept. The reason is reusable code. Reusable code. Okay. But this reusability is in two different places. When you use inheritance, where is the reusable code? So what code do you reuse? Anyone? Because we discussed that last time. Can someone tell me which code you reuse when we use inheritance? ටක් ගාලා උත්තරයක් දෙන්න ඕනවද? කලින් දවසේ තේරිච්ච කට්ටිය. Right, super types code. Perfect. So what do you reuse? Super types code. Because when you have a class called A, say your A class has a method B, method X, your B extend from A, and now B objects can call X, or B class has X behavior. B class has X behavior if it is not private. So that is that this code is reusable for B objects. Okay. So that is where the reusability. So therefore, again, you don't need to write that method. You can write any additional things, or you can override. You are not happy with this behavior. Because B objects must do it in differently. We demonstrate those things last time. Okay. Right. So then polymorphism, where is this reusable code? So this is your class hierarchy. Say this is my class A, this is my class B. Okay, so the reusability is somewhere else, not in your class hierarchy. If you use polymorphism, okay, so maybe this code is reusable. This code is reusable. That means if you use polymorphism properly, right, your class can reuse this code. Right? Your class can reuse this code. But if you don't use polymorphism properly, your class cannot reuse this code. Okay. So that is the idea. So that means every time you change your code here, you don't need to go and change code here. Say you introduce a new class in the future, say class C, still you don't need to go and change this code. Still you can send your C object when you call the methods in here. Right. So in the future, you create another class, say D. So you don't need to change this. This code will accept your D objects. But by the time this code was written, they had no idea that you are going to have a D class. But still you can use it now. So therefore the reusable code is here. This is your inheritance hierarchy. I told you inheritance and polymorphism is related. Okay, this code is here. So if you want to reuse this code, make sure you use polymorphism in your code. According to the way this code specify or expect, according to the way this code expects, design your class hierarchy. So then your objects can be sent following this behaviors and so on. So then this becomes reusable. Okay. So the idea is you can keep adding features, new classes to your code, but so every time you do that, you are not supposed to go and change here. So you must make sure that without you changing this code, you add new features. That is called open close principle. Your code must be open to extension. Yes, you can extend subclasses, but close to changes. You are not supposed to go and change these codes. Even though you extend new features, still this code you must be able to safely call this code without every time you do change here or add new feature here, you don't need to go, you are not supposed to go and change here. If you have to go and change here, that means you have violated the open close principle, or maybe you are not properly using polymorphism. Okay, right. So another very important statement related to polymorphism is write to an interface or super type, not to a specific type. So when you develop software, right, your code, you write your code to a super types or interfaces rather than specific types. Okay. Okay. Right. I know still you have not understood it. Maybe at the end of the session also some of you guys may not understand it. Okay. But maybe some of you guys may be able to understand it. Okay. So therefore, let's start doing some coding. Okay. Let's start doing some coding because that is the only way you can understand this, not by memorizing the definitions. Okay. I'll start my IntelliJ. So this is how the frameworks work. You know, there are frameworks like, for example, PHP. We use frameworks. Okay. Laravel framework, Ignite framework. Java people use Spring framework, Struts framework. Okay. Similarly, Python has frameworks. So how do they write these frameworks? Using polymorphism. So if you are going to use their frameworks, you must know polymorphism. If you want to write your own framework, you must know polymorphism. Because frameworks are super important concept in software. Frameworks really make our life easy. But if you know what is polymorphism, otherwise it's another mystery for you. So when you see more and more mysteries, you get fed up of IT field because you can't handle it. So let's create a class. These are our last time classes. Okay, let's keep all those also in case we need. Right. Now, already we have class called account. Okay. So we have class called account. Okay, so these classes are regenerated. Okay, so let me copy these classes. Okay, because that is your class, not the source file. There is a class file. Let's copy it from our code base, last time code base, codes, OP basics. I just need the account class. Okay. I just copy the account class so that I don't need to write it again. Right, so this is my account class. Okay. So my account class has account number and balance, interest rate, then the constructor, set account number method, get account number method, get balance, set balance, and deposit method and withdraw method. And get interest, set interest, and blah blah blah. We don't need these things, right? I will just remove the unnecessary things for polymorphism, extend polymorphism. Okay, so I just keep the minimum. Okay, I just keep the minimum. Yeah, so this is the minimum I want. Okay. So now let's say we have another code. So, right, another code. Say there's a batch process or something that we do the at the interest. Okay, so of course at the interest method is in our account class as well. Okay. Uh, no, we have not written that the interest method. Okay, so let's assume at the interest method is somewhere else. Okay, somewhere else. So, okay, let's add that interest method. Okay, because we have all the other methods. Say void add the interest. You don't need any parameter because interest rate is there. Let's say balance equal or balance plus equal. That means balance equal balance plus balance into interest rate. Right? Interest rate. Why I am not getting the interest rate? Right? It must be simple like interest rate. So that is balance into interest rate is the interest. You add that interest to the balance. Okay. Right. So now let's say we have batch process. Okay, batch process where we call that to add interest to each and every account object. Okay. Right. So this is my class. I will call it say interest util. Interest util or whatever. So it has a method called say process interest. Right? Process interest. Say void process interest. Okay. And we expect say array of accounts. Account array. Remember we did arrays. I will just call it A. So here what we do is we call the add interest method of each and every account object. For that I can use for loop, array friendly for loop or normal for loop. Say for දැන් ඔක්කොම දේවල් එකට පාවිච්චි කරන්න වෙනවා. මේක තමයි අපි කියන්නේ මොකද්ද කියන්නේ ෆිල්ම් එකක හරි මොකක් හරි නාට්‍යයක නම් අපි කියන්නේ මේ දෙකට කියන්නේ උච්චස්ථානය නේද? එතනට තමයි ඔක්කොම ස්ටේජ් එක සෙට් කරන්නේ අපි. මේක තමයි අන්නේ උපරිමයට තේරුම් ගන්න ඕන තැන. හරි. මෙතන තේරුම් ගත්ත කියනවා ඔබ්ජෙක්ට් ඔරියන්ටඩ් ඔක්කොම තේරුම් ගන්න තියෙන්නේ. හරි. මෙතනින් පස්සේ තියෙන පල්ලමක්. හරි. මේක තේරුම් ගත්ත අයට. මේ හරි මෙතන මේ කන්ද ඒ කියන්නේ කන්ද උඩටම ආට එන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා තමයි බලන්නේ. කන්ද උඩට එන්න පුළුවන් කියනවා අනිත් එක කොහොමද තේරෙනවද? හරි. දැන් කන්ද උඩට එන්න බැරි කට්ටියකුත් ඉන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා. හරි. Right. So let's iterate this for account. Let's call it. Let's call this ACC accounts. Okay. Accounts. Right. So I call for each and every account object, I will call the add interest method. Right. So you send me the array of accounts. I will call the add interest method for each and every account you send in the array. Okay. Right. So this is my framework class. This is my framework. Usually framework has more than one class, but assume this is one class framework. This code I have already implemented. Right. This code I have already implemented, but I don't want to change this over and over according to open close principle. Right? According to open close principle, you can add new type of accounts and so on in your bank, but every time you add a new type of account, you are not supposed to come here and change this. So if you are supposed to come here and change this is not a framework, right? So framework means something you are not supposed to come and change. It must be stable code base. Okay, right. So now let's do a test class. I'll call this accounts. Okay, I'll call it uh, polymorphism test. Polymorphism test, just to make it very specific. Okay, I have main method PSVA public static void main. I will create few account objects. Okay, account A1 equal new account. Okay, I'll give it an account number A1 dot set account number or set account number. I call it 001. Maybe I will deposit something because it must have some sort of balance. A1 dot balance. දැන් අපි මේ කතන්දරයක් වයි කරන්නේ නැහැ නැත්නම් මේ ඇක්ට් software එක මෙහෙම මේ hard code කරන්නේ නැහැ. හරි මම ගිසති explain කරන්නේ. නමුත් ඉස්සෙල්ලා concepts ඉගෙනගෙන ඉන්න බෑ. Sorry. Deposit. Let's say 1,000. Okay. Right. So similarly, I will create another account. අපි ඔක්කොම 1,000 deposit කරමු. එතකොට මේක පොඩි කතන්දරයක් පස්සේ තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. හරි. This one also I deposited 1,000. Okay, let's say for this one I will deposit 2,000. Okay, 2,000. And that is 002. Okay. So when I do coding, don't ask about exams. Okay. So your main task is not exams. If you are so much worried about exam, okay. So why are you so much worried about exam? Who cares your exams? Okay, who cares your exams? So your task is learn the subject. Right? Your task is learn the subject. So when you learn the subject, right, you don't care about exams. Simple as that. Okay. subject ඉගෙන ගත්ත පස්සේ exam එකට බයත් නැහැ. job එකකට බයත් නැහැ. ලෝකේ ඕන තැනක යන්න බයත් නැහැ. ඒක නේ කරන්න ඕනේ. මේ හැමදෙස්සෙම මොකද්ද මේ exam එක ගැන අහන්නේ? exam එකට තියනවාද කියලා paper එකක් open කරලා බලන්න. එච්චරයි. හරි. ජීවිතය කියන්නේ exam නෙමෙයි යා. ජීවිතය කියන්නේ ගෞරවයක් ඇතුව ජීවත් වෙන එකට. හරි. ගෞරවයක් ඇතුව ජීවත් වෙන එක. ඒක තමයි කරන්න උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. ඒකට අවශ්‍ය ශක්තිය අරන් දෙන්න ඕන. හරි. නැත්නම් ඔය සාතිකේ සත පහකට කවුරුත් ගණන් ගන්නෑ නැහැ. උපාධි සාතික. උපාධි සාතික අරගෙන ඉන්නේ පාරවල් වල. රැකියා විරහිත උපාධිධාරියෝ කියන්නේ. right. subject ඉගෙන ගත්ත පස්සේ ඔයාලට ඕන exam එකකුත් එකයි රස්සාවකට යන්නත් පුළුවන් ජීවත් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන් කාටවත් එක එකයි password පැත්තේ යන්න ඕනෙත් නැහැ. හරි. subject එක තේරුම් ගන්න. right. So I have created two account objects A1 A2. Okay. Second one I have deposited 2,000. Right. Now let's assume we want to add interest maybe at the end of month. මේ එක එක දවස්වල වෙන දේවල් තමයි මම එකපාර කරන්නේ කතන්දරයක් වගේ හරි. So then I create a account util object. Account util. Why can't I create account util? Sorry, interest util, right? Interest util I call it IU equal new interest util. Right. So now remember it has a method called process interest. For that, I need to send this array. Okay. For that, I need to send this array. It has a method called process. So I call it IU process interest. But for that, I need to send an array of accounts. So therefore, I'll create an array of accounts. Okay. First, I will create array of accounts. Account, say ACTS equal new accounts. Because arrays need size, I will create a size of say 5. Okay. Or maybe size of 3 for the time being. Okay. Because I have only 2 accounts. Okay. Now I will add those 2 accounts to this, or I can create the account array in a simple manner as well. Okay. Something. Okay. Let's add it like this. Account. Remember arrays. A1 comma A2. Okay, A1 comma A2. Let's say ACCTS. Right. So now I can set my account array. Right. Now I can set my account array. Okay. So now what should happen? After calling this, my accounts must have interest added. Interest added. So what is our interest rate? Okay, let's make it 0.1 or 10%. So now interest must be added to each and every of my account after calling this. So now let's print account number and interest rate of each account. Okay. Let's do it in our for loop as well, or I can just call it A1 and A2 is there. Right. A1 dot account number, get account number plus then I need to print the balance. A1 dot get balance. So similarly, I have second account. A2, A2. Okay. Right. So I create an interest util object and call the process interest and send in my array. And my array has my 2 accounts. So this is my framework class. I don't want to change this interest util in the future. Okay, in the future. But maybe my banks will introduce more and more accounts in the future. Okay, right. So now what should be the output? Can anyone tell me what should be the output if when I run this? Here I have deposited 1,000. Here I have deposited 2,000. Okay, so then I call the interest utility add interest method. In add interest class, okay, so I call the add interest method for each and every account object. So then I print the account number and interest balance. So when I add the interest, balance must be changed. So the expected answer is 1,100 because 1% interest added means 1,100. For this 2,100. Okay, so 2,200 because 1% of 2,000 is 200. And let's see whether we get it. Okay, let's see whether we get the expected answer first. Right? You can see 1,100, 2,200. Now in the future also, if you have another account, I can add that also to here. And again, 10% will be added. 10% will be added. So you don't need to go and change this. Okay. Now what happens is, now let's assume uh, we have the bank has decided to introduce another account or special type of account. Okay. So let's call this now. This is maybe this happen after sometimes. Okay. Say let's call it super savings account. Super savings account. Let's assume it extends from account. Now in inheritance, something you learned last week. Okay. So therefore my super savings account is also account. Now what I do is here the deposit behavior is the same. My super savings account has account number, balance, deposit behavior, withdraw behavior, right? Uh, but what I want to do is the interest addition I want to change because this is a super savings account. So those who are opening super savings account, they have special, let's say bonus interest. Okay. So I will define the bonus interest in this class because there's no bonus interest for general accounts. Okay. So let's say double bonus interest rate. I'll say it is 0. Earlier we gave 1%. For here we give 5%. Yeah. Earlier we gave 10%. Here we give 5%. Okay. 5%, but this is bonus interest rate. Right? Bonus interest rate. Or let's say 1%. Okay. 10% is normal interest rate. At 0.1. 1% is the bonus interest rate. Now I am going to override at the interest method. Then man කලින් සතිය කිව්ව මොකද්ද මේ override කරනවා කියන්නේ කියලා. Okay. So write the same method with the same signature, but you implement differently. Okay. You implement differently. Where is my add interest? Yeah, this one. So copy this and implement. Okay. So why I can't access balance? Because balance is private. So private things are not accessible even to subclasses. Okay, so therefore I will make it. Now our next topic, you will understand what I do today, talk now, because our next topic is package and access control. Okay, so there you will better understand why I am doing this. So balance is not available for subtypes also because it's private. So therefore I will make it protected so that subclasses can access. Right, you will understand what is protected before today's end of today's class. Okay. Protected. Account number also I will make it protected so that my subclass can access it. Okay. Right. So now I'll get back to here. Now those errors are not there. Interest rate also I have the same issue. I'll make that also protected. Protected means your subclass, I give the access to subclasses. Earlier private means only your class have access. Protected means your class and your subclasses. Right. I just gave the access to subclasses. Now no error. Okay. So this is your normal interest. Right. But I'm going to add bonus interest rate to the interest rate. Okay, so then it will be 1 point. So normal interest rate is 0.1. This is 0.01. So therefore, for super savings account, the interest rate is going to be 1.1. 100ට 11ක් වෙන්නයි හදන්නේ දැන්. enough මේ වරහනක් දාමු. So interest rate plus bonus interest rate. Bonus interest rate. චුට්ටක් interest එක එකතු වෙනවා. මහලු ගාණක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ නේද? bonus interest කියලා. But this is only for super savings accounts. And we have decided these things. Say banks has decided to come up with super savings accounts, and they have decided how the interest is given. So these things all happen after you have implemented this code, interest rated code. So this is my framework code, right? So the idea is, can I send my super savings account for this method, this framework method? Okay, because this is expecting accounts, but now I'm going to create some super savings account as well, objects as well. Okay, but for super savings account, interest is calculated for normal interest rate plus bonus interest rate. For normal accounts, they consider only the normal interest rate. But for super savings account, normal interest rate plus bonus interest rate. Okay. Got it? Right. So now I don't touch this code. Remember, open close principle. Open for extension. Now I'm adding new classes and so on, extensions. Close to changes. No, I'm not going to go and change this. I'm not supposed to touch this code. Okay. Right. So now let's say we have super savings account also. Say now it is a super savings account. Super savings account. I will call it A3. I can call the set account number deposit because super savings account is also account. Okay, I'll call it 3. Again 1000. මම ඒ දෙකට දාන්නේ 1000 2000 ගේ. ඒතකොට balance එක compare කරන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, so this is A3. A3. Okay, so similarly we'll create A4 with 2000. Now I will add A3 and A4 also there. A3, A4. Right. So now again I call the process interest with my accounts array. Now you can see that my account array can keep not only accounts, it can keep my super savings account also. But this account, I say this account array, but it happily accept super savings account also. So that is good news. Second thing is, still I can call the process interest rate method, but my now account array has both account objects and super savings account objects. Right? So actually, this method says I need accounts array, but my account array has super savings accounts also. So that means my super savings account can act like accounts. That is polymorphism. When you expect accounts, I can send not only accounts, I can send super savings accounts. Why? My super savings account can play the role of super savings account as well as accounts. So therefore, when you expect account, I can send super savings accounts. Right? That is called polymorphism. And I don't need to come and touch this code because this is my framework code, open close principle. Okay, මම දැන් කියපු කතන්දර ටික මේ practically කරනවා. Now let's run it. දැන් run කරාම දෙන්න ඕන. For each and every account object, your interest utility is calling add interest. Therefore, for account objects, it's going to call the normal add interest method. For super savings account object, it is going to call the add interest method in the super savings account class. So therefore, for normal accounts, it is going to add 1% interest. Sorry, 10% interest. For super savings account objects, that is A3 and A4, it is going to add 10% interest for the A1 and A2 But for A3 and A4, it is going to add 11% interest. 11% interest because we have overridden the add interest method for super savings account objects. Interest rate plus bonus interest rate. Okay. ඒකම එකම ගණන් දැම්මේ. එතකොට මෙයාට 1000 උනාට මෙයාගේ අලුත් A1 ගේ බැලන්ස් එකට වඩා A3 ගේ බැලන්ස් එක වෙනස් වෙන්න ඕන. මොකද A3 super savings account එක. හැබැයි දෙන්නම යවනකොට 1000 යවන්න. 1000 තියෙන බැලන්ස් එක. නමුත් දැන් 1100 වෙද්දි මෙයා 1110 වෙන්න ඕන. මෙයා 2200 වෙද්දි අරයා 2200 නෙමෙයි 2300 වෙන්න ඕන. හරි. A4 run කළ බලමු. Why it is not getting run? Some output එක ගැවෙන්නේ. So similarly now you need to print A3 and A4. A3, so A4, A3, A4. Now let's see. You can see this guy, we sent 1000 as the balance, we got 1100 as the new balance. So this guy also we sent 1000 as the balance, but this is a super savings account, so we get it as 1110 because 11% interest is added. Both 002 and 004, initially the balance was 2000. Okay, balance was 2000. Where is that? So here also 2000, 002, 004 also 2000. But 002 is 2200, 004 is 2220 because it's a super savings account. Right? So when we said super savings account act like super savings account. But my interest utility is only referring to accounts. So that is the beauty of polymorphism. Right? This is the beauty of polymorphism. So in the future, if you have another type of account, right? Another type of account where you add the interest in a different way, right? Maybe some other logic is used for add interest method. You just override the add interest method from your type because it's a new class. New class, you can do whatever you want. But every time you add new class, you are not supposed to come and change this code. This code is polymorphic. This code is polymorphic. So therefore, though we say we are expecting account, actually we are happily accepting account of any subtype of account. We happily accept account objects, super savings account objects, and anything which are subclasses of account. That is what polymorphism means. So therefore, where is the reusable code? Reusable code is this one. This is my reusable code. Okay. So in the future also we can add different classes and create objects. Still, those objects are accepted by this code. So that is what is meant by framework. Right? That is what is meant by framework. That is what is open close principle. Your code must be closed to changes, open to extensions. Okay. That's it about polymorphism. Any question about polymorphism? Okay. Can use float data type. Where? Can you explain the question? Can use float data type. Where? Where do you refer? Here. Of course, if you want, you can, maybe you are referring to balance. If balance, yes. Because I just took double. Okay. Float is also good enough because balance is not going to be trillions and blah, 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 right? Usually double float is enough. Okay. Right. So I hope that is your question or something else. Yeah. Interest rate. Yeah, you can use float. There's no issue. මම ඉතින් අතින් පයින් යන තියන් double ගත්ත මොකද මට memory ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ නේ මගේ කම්පියුටරේ හරි but ideally it should be float not double. Okay, right. So that is what polymorphism is. Now look at the definition. again and see whether it makes sense now. Like it makes sense now. Okay. Right. So now again read it. Ability of an object to play many forms. Okay. What are those many forms? Its own form, any of its supertype forms, or any form of interfaces that the class or its superclass have implemented. Still, I have not introduced you the interface concept of interface. But up to this, so we are sending account object, we are sending super savings account objects. Okay. So because my super savings account can take the account form. So when account is expected, I can send super savings accounts. Why? Super savings account is an account. මෙතන සුපර් කිව්වේ මේ මෙතන සුපර් හන්ද නෙමෙයි යා මත අතන සුපර් කිව්වේ නිකන් වැඩිපුර ෆීචර්ස් දෙනවා කියන තේරුම. හරි මෙතන සුපර් කිව්වේ සබ් ක්ලාස් එකේ විරුද්ධ පදේ. හරි. So that is how you make frameworks. Now when you do UI development, event handling, you will further understand this. ඔයාට මෙන්න මේ වගේ කෝඩ් එක වැඩ කරන්න වෙනවා. හරි. I will show you the code. Because I have done this for batch 1. So they have දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ තාම ඉන්නේ මෙන්න මෙතන හරි polymorphism batch 1 එකට මෙන්න මෙච්චරක් තව කරලා තිනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉන්නේ UI කරලා ඉවරයි දැන් ඒගොල්ලෝ සිලබස් එකේ අන්තිම ටොපික් දෙකේ ඉන්නේ හරි මේවට ගියොත් එහෙම මට පේන්නේ event handling තාම කරේ නැහැ ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඇත්තටම නෑ මේක ඒගොල්ලන්ට event handling කරලා නැහැ event handling කරලා තියෙනවා හරි So here these are the interfaces. Action event is the interface. So we are coding to, you can say extends, JFrame, implements, action listener. So basically all this is a UI code. We can graphical user interface. So there we use, we can see we use inheritance. JFrame class is inherited to create a JFrame. Action listener interface is implemented, polymorphism. That is how software is developed. So the මේ කෝඩ් එක තේරුම් ගන්න බෑ ඔයා අද කියන එක තව දවසක් හරි සතියක් හරි මහන්සිලා තේරුම් ගත්තේ නැත්නම් ඊට පස්සේ UI තේරෙන්නේ. ඔන්න ඊට පස්සේ විශේෂ සයිකල් එක පටන් ගන්නවා. විශේෂ සයිකල් එක පටන් ගන්නවා. නොතේරීමේ සයිකල් එක. ඕන කෙනෙක්ට ඔය for loop එකයි while loop එකයි තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන්. if condition එකයි else එකයි ලියන හැටි. මෙතන තමයි කට්ටිය ඇවිල්ලා හිර වෙන්නේ. හිර වෙන තැන මම ඔයාලට හරියටම කිව්වා. කැමති නම් හිර වෙන්න. හරි? නැත්නම් මෙතනින් ගොඩ එන්න. මේක තේරුම් ගත්තට පස්සේ ඔයාලට software develop කරන්න ඕන අවශ්‍ය basic skill එක හම්බ වෙනවා. හරි. ඒ කියන්නේ polymorphism, inheritance තේරුම් ගත්තට පස්සේ. Abstraction. Okay. එතකොට මේ කෝඩ් එකක් එක්ක වැඩ කරනවා. මොකද මේ software developers ලා කියන්නේ software engineers ලාට. හරි engineers ලා කියන්නේ සුරංගනාව බෝනික්කෝ නෙමෙයි. හරි engineers ලා කියන්නේ doctors ලා කියන්නේ බෝනික්කෝ මේ පුයර බබාලා නෙමෙයි. ඒගොල්ලෝ serious කරන වැඩ කරන මිනිස්සු. ડોක්ටර් කෙනෙක්ට බයිපාස් එකක් කරන්න සමහරට පැය 6ක් යනවා. හරි. බෝම්බයක් ගහලා මේ බඩවැල් එළියට අරන් වැටලා ඉන්න ලෙඩාවත් දොස්තර බාර ගන්නවා. දොස්තර කෙලි දාන්නේ නැහැ මෙයාව මෝචරියට දාන්න කියලා. එයාව කොහොමද මෝචරියට දාන්න නැතුව ශල්‍යාගාරයෙන් වාට්ටුවට යවන්න බලන්න. හිතහයිය මිනිස්සු වෙනවා. හිතහයිය මිනිස්සු වෙනවා. හරි. හිතහයිය නැත්තම් ડોක්ටර්ස්ලා වෙන්න ඉන්ජිනියර්ස්ලා වෙන්න හිතන්න එපා. හරි. ඉතින් මේ කෝඩ් එකේ කොම්ප්ලෙක්සිටි එක හැන්ඩල් කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. ඩර ડોක්ටර්ට සැට්කම් පීයත් එක සෙල්ලම් කරනවා වගේ සෙල්ලම් නෙමෙයි මනුස්ස ජීවිත. හරි. ඒගොල්ලෝ තීරණය කරන කකුල කපනවාද? බුලට් එක අයින් කරනවාද? නේද? එහෙම තමයි. වගකීම් දරන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. ඒක ඉංජිනේර කෙනෙක් නම් න්‍යෂ්ටික බලාගාරයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, පවර් ප්ලාන්ට් එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, software එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ කොම්ප්ලෙක්සිටි හැන්ඩල් කරන්න පුරුදු වෙන්න. නැත්තම් මේ වැඩේ අතහැරලා දාන්න. හරි. මේ වැඩේ අතහැරලා දාන්න. කොම්ප්ලෙක්සිටි හැන්ඩල් කරගන්න තේරෙන්නේ නැත්තම්. So remember, so you have the quizzes, right? So remember, I have given you the quizzes. Most of the subject topics now you are getting more and more quizzes. So we use Google Forms earlier, but we thought, no, Google Form is not going to work because we are slaves of Google then. Right? So then we start giving you our own quiz platform. Right? Quiz platform. So this one, so it's very simple software, right? ඔයාලට බැලු බලනකොට පේනවා මේක ඇති දෙයක් නෑනේ. හරි. චුටි දෙයක් නේ කියලා. කෝඩ් එක කියලා මම පෙන්නන්නම්. හරි. මේ ඔක්කොම ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. A C Sam, you haven't done the web development yet. Okay, web development කරලා නෑනේ ඔයාලා තාම. semester 2 semester 3 වල web development තියෙනවා. This is the quiz phase. ඔයාලට මම දැන් පෙන්නන කෝඩ් එක හරි. පේනවා. database calls ලියලා තියෙනවා. arrays එක වැඩ කරනවා. මෙතන Java නෑ. මෙතන තියෙන JavaScript and PHP. Okay, පේනවා the functions. ඉතින් මේවට බය වෙන්න බෑ. අර ඩොක්ටර් බය නෑ වගේ තමයි. ඩොක්ටර් ඔක්කොම මේවා ටිකයි බඩ වැලිය ඔක්කොම මේවා කරගෙන නේද? අවශ්‍ය තැනට ගිහිල්ලා ශල්‍ය කර්මය කරනවා. අපිත් එහෙම තමයි. ඉතින් අර එක පේජ් එකක් මේ ඔයා හිතන මේ කෝඩ් එක පාලිම කරන්නේ නෑ. මේ කමෙන්ට් කළා සමහර ඒවා වෙනස් කළා එක විදිහකට කළා එක වෙනස් කළා. ඉතින් ඔම් චුට්ටි චුට්ටි තමයි කෝඩ් ලියන්නේ. හැබැයි මේ කම්ප්ලෙක්සිටි හැන්ඩල් කරන්න ඕන. තරම් ඔයාලට ආත්ම ශක්තියක් එන්න ඕන. ඒතකොට දැන් ලක්ෂ 2 3 5 නෙමෙයි software engineer එකට ලක්ෂ 10කට වැඩි පඩි හම්බ වෙනවා දැන්. හොඳ software engineer කෙනෙක්ට මාසෙකට. හරි මාසෙකට ලක්ෂ 10කට වැඩි පඩියක් හම්බ වෙනවා. ලක්ෂ 10ක් ඇති වැඩේ මොකද මේ දවස්වල? හැබැයි ඉතින් එහෙම මීටරේ හොඳ කෙනෙක්ට. හරි. නේද? බයිපාස් එකක් කරාම ડોක්ටර් කෙනෙක්ට එකපාරම වෙන ලක්ෂ 3ක් විතර. එක මේ බයිපාස් එකක් කරාම අඩුම ගානේ ලක්ෂයක් හම්බ වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ කිසිම අවුලක් නැහැ. අතට හම්බ වෙනවා. එෆර්ට් එක. ඒ කියන්නේ බයිපාස් එකක් කරන්න ගියාම ලක්ෂ බර ගාණක් ඉල්ල. එහෙම තමයි. ඉතින් මේ මිනිස්සු කම්ප්ලෙක්සිටි හැන්ඩල් කරන්න පුළුවන් මිනිස්සු ඒ. දුවන මිනිස්සු නෙමෙයි. Okay, right. So face the challenge. Right? Face the challenge. If you can. Okay, if you can face the challenge. Accept your challenges in life and do engineering things, technological things. Engineering technology කියන්නේ මේක තමයි ආ. Engineering technology කියන්නේ කවි ලියන එකවත් නේද? මල් හදන එකවත් නෙමෙයි. Right. So that is the basics of polymorphism. Right. So when I add interface to that, the concept is over. Okay. Right. So I explained this particular example. Right. So here I took savings account, but in my code I took it as super savings account. Right. Super savings account. And here it is the මෙතන දෙකෙන් වැඩි කරලා තියෙනවා. මම දෙකෙන් වැඩි කරනවා වෙනකොට තව interest rate එකක් add කරා. Right. තව interest rate එකක් add කරා. So normal interest in this code example, normal interest, the super savings accounts get twice the interest. But in our code, we have more flexibility to change the super savings interest rate. Okay. And this is our test code. Okay. Right. Any questions up to this point? Because now 50% of the polymorphism is done. 50%. So you will appreciate this. This is something like this. Okay. Some interface again. So you know there's something called interfaces in hardware. For example, HDMI interface. මේ interface එකක් තියෙනවා දැකලා තියෙනවද? HDMI කියලා තියෙන port එක. USB. So those are interfaces. Right. Now, for example, if you take all computers, all PCs, so they never had HDMI interface, but they had VGA interface. ඔයාලට මතකද දැනේ VGA interface එක තියුණා ඒගොල්ලන්. At that time, the monitors were big. huge monitors, CRT monitors. So then came flat monitors, and the flat monitor also support VGA interface. Okay. So then to the same old computer, now we can replace the CRT monitor and introduce maybe liquid crystal diode monitor. So this is using one technology. This is using another technology. Still, my computer support it. Why? This component is developed for the VGA interface. This component is implemented for the VGA interface. So then, if you have projector, if your projector has a VGA cable, you can connect. You can send your output to the projector. So I can send my output to the projector, CRT monitor, or even flat monitor. Now, these days, what we have? HDMI interface. So now my monitors support HDMI interface. So therefore, my monitors comes with HDMI cable. As long as monitor support HDMI interface, I can send my output to that monitor. Okay. So these days, the top technologies, let's assume liquid crystal diode or maybe something else. Now, in the future, let's assume still my laptop, I have already bought my laptop. My laptop support HDMI interface. My laptop support HDMI interface. Okay. So then assume there's a new technology comes, which is not LCD or LED or whatever, something else. Something else. By the time this laptop is manufactured, no one had thought about it. No one had thought about that. There will be a new technology like that for the display. But as long as that display technology support HDMI interface, I can buy that monitor and fix it my laptop. Okay. That is also open close principle. My monitor is open to extension with new technologies. But whenever I go with new technology for my monitor, I don't need to come and change my laptop. My laptop is still laptop. That is open close principle. My laptop is closed to changes, but my monitor is open to extensions with new technologies, new technologies. Just like my account, savings account, super savings account, in අනාගතේ accounts එනවා වගේ අනාගතේ එක එක මොනිටර්ස් එයි. හැබැයි මට මගේ කම්පියුටරේ වෙනස් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ ඔය එක එක මොනිටර්ස් ආවගේ. ඇයි? ඒ හැමෝම සපෝට් කරන්න මම කියලා තියෙනවා. ඔයා HDMI වලට සපෝට් කරනවා නම් මම HDMI සිග්නල් එක අරන් ප්‍රොසෙස් කරගන්නවා. ඔයා ඕන මගුලක් විදිහට ඩිස්ප්ලේ කරගන්න. ඔයා ඕන විදිහකට ඩිස්ප්ලේ කරගන්න. I don't care. හරි. ඔච්චරයි කතන්දර. ඔච්චරයි කතන්දර. Okay. So therefore, when your laptop is developed or processed, it assumes that you are getting particular type of signal, and that signal or you are sending a particular type of signal, HDMI signal. So these guys can implement it in whatever the way, and it is not going to affect you. So that is polymorphism. So you can see polymorphic monitors. But I don't have to change here. හොඳට කල්පනා කරන්න මේක. මේක දවසක් හරි දෙකක් හරි මේව තමයි ඉන්ජිනියර්ස් ලාගේ තියෙන ප්‍රධාන කන්සෙප්ට්. ඉන්ජිනියර්ස්ලා කියන්නේ මේ නිකම් බිත්තියක් බදින එකවත් නෙමෙයි. ඉන්ජිනියර්ස්ලා අනාගතය ගැන හිතලා රීයුසබල් වෙන්න, මිනිසුන්ට කරදරයක් නොවෙන්න එහෙමයි ඩිසයින් කරන්නේ. හරි. කොස්ට් එක අඩු වෙන්න. අපි කොහොමද ඩිසයින් කරන්නේ ඉන්ජිනියර්ස්ලා මෙතන වෙනසක් කරන්න ඕනේ නැති වෙන්න ඉන්ටර්ෆේස් එකක් ඩිෆයින් කරලා කියන ඕගොල්ලෝ ඕන විදිහකට ඕක ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරගන්න බෑ මෙන්න මේ සිග්නල් එක තමයි අපි දෙන්නේ. ඕගොල්ලෝ ඕන විදිහකට ඒක ප්‍රොසෙස් කරගන්න. right so එතකොට අපිට ඇවිල්ලා කරදර කරන්න බෑ මෙතන වෙනස් කරන්න කියලා අපි වෙනස් කරන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ඕගොල්ලන්ට වෙනස් වෙන්න තියෙන අයිතියක් පිළිගන්න. හරි. ඔයාලක ස්තිරයකට දැම්මත් කමක් නැහැ, ඩිස්ප්ලේ එකට දැම්මත් කමක් නැහැ, ෆ්ලැට් ස්ක්‍රීන් එකකට දැම්මත් කමක් නැහැ, කොහොම දැම්මත් කමක් නැහැ. So that is polymorphism. Okay. Right. So what is the meaning of interface? Remember I told you that C language supported multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance means a class can be extended from more than one class. Right. So my class C extends from A as well as B. So you expect a particular interface, just like my laptop says HDMI. So then we don't care how do you implement it, right? So we just expect, say, let's look at it hardware. So we just expect that it is HDMI, and we don't care whether you implement as CRT, flat, projector, or any other new technology in the future. So we just support the HDMI interface. So implementation is your task. Okay. So in languages like C or C++, they supported multiple inheritance. But when you support multiple inheritance, there are some practical issues. So therefore, all the other languages, including Java, PHP, now we support only one, maximum one super type. So your C can extend from A, but now it can't extend from B. That is not allowed. Okay. So that means your class can have maximum of one super type, not more than one. Of course, a superclass can have many subclasses, but class can have only one super type. So then my C can play the role of C or A, okay? But then if I want to play a role of B also, and if B is not a super type of A, now I am in trouble. Of course, if B is a super type of A, yes, because my C can play the role of C, A, and B. But if my B is not a practically super type of A, now my object cannot play the role of B. So that is where the concept of interfaces were introduced. So basically what happens is in C++, multiple inheritance is supported. At that time, there's no concept called interfaces. But with Java and other languages, multiple inheritance is not supported. Rather, there's a concept called interfaces. Right. Now your B is not a class interface. Let's call it I1. C can implement I1. C can implement I2. Or basically C can implement any number of interfaces. It can extend maximum from one super type, but it can implement any number of interfaces. No restriction. Just like C supported subclass from any number of classes. But now you can't subclass from any number of classes. You can only subclass from one class maximum, but your class can implement any number of interfaces. So then why do you want your class to implement interfaces? Because your C objects want to play the role of A, I1, I2, I3, depends on the situation. So if you want to play a role, your class must implement that interface. Okay, your class must implement that interface. The interface is defined previously. Okay, your framework class is written for the interface. Your framework class is written for the interfaces, expecting interface. But when you expect interface, what we actually get is object of a class which has implemented that interface. So that is how polymorphism is used for reusability, open close principle, using interfaces. Okay. Now, for example, here, so when you do the UI, so you will see there's a class called myFrame. So myFrame has extend JFrame. Therefore, myFrame is a JFrame, and it has implement action listener. So therefore, myFrame is action listener. So, okay. So therefore, JDK. Okay, I will explain that when we are doing UI. But when you do UI, you will understand what is this code is if you have understand or if you have understood what is polymorphism today. What is mean by implementing interface? Okay, right. So we are going to do another story type of a question example, just like the account and super savings account. Okay. Right. So interface is like a class. But here we use the keyword interface. Interface. And in interface, you can have method signatures only. You can't implement any methods. Okay, you can have only method signatures because the class must implement these interfaces methods. When your class say I implement this interface, that class must implement. Your interface is just method signatures. Just like your laptop is just supporting HDMI interface. Implementing this signal to display in different ways up to the monitors, projectors. Here we define this is the interface. Okay, so this is the interface. Okay. So interfaces exist purely to support polymorphism. No other reason. If someone talk about interfaces, so then basically why these interfaces are used to support polymorphism, not to anything, not to inheritance or nothing. Okay. So when a particular class implement an interface, it has that polymorphic form as well. Okay. It has some that polymorphic form as well. So this is the example I gave. As long as you support HDMI, we don't care whether you support like this or that or the other way or in new way in the future. But we are not going to change this because this is our interface. This is our contract. How are we going to communicate? So therefore, don't think that these are only in software development. These are concepts in engineering. Concepts in engineering. Okay. Mechanical engineering වලට ගියොත් එහෙම මොකද්ද මේක? ඔය standard bolts ඉන්නේ, nuts ඉන්නේ. මෙන්න මේ නේද? මිලිමීටර් මෙච්චර නට් එකකට තමයි සෙට් වෙන්නේ. ඔය ඕන විදිහට ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරන්න හැබැයි මේ නෝට් නට් එකට තමයි සෙට් වෙන්නේ. හරි මේ මහා ලොකු දේවලුත් නෙමෙයි හරි. පොඩි දේවල්. හැබැයි ඉතින් මේ software level එකට ගියාම සමහරවිට නිකන් බය වෙනවා. හරි. hardware level එකේ තේරෙනවා software level එකට ගියාම සමහරවිට බය වෙනවා. මොකද්ද මේ interface එක කියන්නේ? බය වෙනවා ඒක තේරුම් ගන්න නැහැ. Okay. Right. So this is our next example to explain what is interface is. Okay. Right. Right. So let's code it. Let's code it and I will explain while coding. I told you this is the hardest thing to understand. Hardest can be hard. Hard can be lazy වෙන්න බෑනේ. සමහර මාස දෙකක් ඇයි තේරුම් ගන්න. සමහර මාස 3ක් ඇයි. හැබැයි කවදා හරි තේරුම් ගත්තොත් එතනින් එහාට software developer කෙනෙක් වෙන්න අවශ්‍ය එක බැරි එකක් පාවිනවා. Okay. So let's create a class called animal. මම දැන් හයියෙන් code ටිකක් කරගෙන යනවා. I am building a story now. Animal. Okay. Say අපි animal class එක කලින් පාර හැදුවනේ. ලියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. The codes this animal class is there. Animal, dog, animal and dog, right? Yes. Right. Animal and dog. So let's reuse that code. Alien no ne. Right. Right. So this is my animal class. My animal has eat method and speak method, which is abstract. Okay. මට ඕන මේකත් ඕන abstract නොකරගෙන ලියන්න මොන හරි බොරු implementation එකක් දාන්න because I want to explain I want to make it a concrete class. Okay. So let's implement something. Animal speaks. දැන් මේ කෝඩ් එක තේරෙන්න ඕන. මේ කෝඩ් එක තේරෙන්න නැති වෙන විදියක් නැහැ දැන්. සතියක් තිස්සේ කෝඩ් එක දිනුවා වගා. Eat and speak. So then I have a dog class extends from animal. Dog has a new feature called roam, a new attribute called breed, and we have override the speak method. So we are happy with the eat method, but we have override the speak method. Okay. Okay. To explain polymorphism. So I'm going to create a class called pet. Sorry, vet. Vet කියන්නේ සත්තුන්ට බෙහෙත් දෙන doctor නේ. So let's say we have a method called treat. Okay, treat. And okay, void treat. And I expect animal. Still, I'm not using interfaces. So this treat method expect any animal. Okay, any animal. So there I will test whether animal can eat, animal can speak. Okay. So now if you create a wet object and for the treat method, as long as you have animal objects or any of the super type of animal. Why? Polymorphism. So therefore, when I say animal, you can send not only animals, you can send your dog also because dog is animal. Polymorphism. Okay. Right. So let's create a class. Say polymorphism test 2. Polymorphism animal test. Non-test class. Polymorphism account test. अभी आप rename करो. Now I have 2 test classes, polymorphism animal test. So there I will create a main method PSVM. I will create animal object. Actually, it's wrong to create animal objects, right? Because animal is abstract concept. So therefore, let's make animal abstract. Abstract, public abstract. They තේරෙන්න ඕනේ මම abstract කරන්නේ. ලෝකෙ කොහෙවත් නැහැ නේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගෙදරට බල්ලෝ පූසෙක් අරන් ආවට කවුරු අම්මා හරි තාත්තා හරි අරන් ගිහලා තිනවද මම මේ ඇනිමල් කෙනෙක් ගෙනාවා කියලා? නෑ. නේද? ඇනිමල් කෙනෙක් වෙන්නේ මේ වගේ ඉන්නේ මොකෙන්ද? බල්ලෙක් පූසෙක් හාපැටියෙක්. Animal is abstract concept. So therefore I just make it abstract. දැන් ඉතින් ඔයාලා animal object හදාන්න තාරන්නේ කොහොමද? So therefore I create dog object. D1 equal new dog. Okay. Now I can create a vet object. Say v equal new vet. And I will call the treat behavior. Now treat behavior expect animal. But I am sending dog. Why? Polymorphism. When animal is expect, I can send a dog because dog can take the form of dog as well as dog has the form of animal because dog is animal. Polymorphism. So it expect animal but accept dogs. Expect animal, accept dog. Why? Dog is animal. Okay, dog is animal. So therefore, if I run this, this one, the name is polymorphism animal test. Yeah, now polymorphism, sorry, account test. Now that is fine. So let's run this. Right. Null, because I have not given a name to my dog. Let's give a name also. We can null kila name. එතන අපි encapsulate කරලා තියුනේ නැහැ, data hide කරලා තියුනේ නැහැ. Let's call it doggy. So you can see that it's something like my vet has a animal clinic. නේද? ගහලා තියෙන animal clinic කියලා. ඒ animal clinic කියලා ගහලා තියෙන තැනට වඩා අරයි යන්න පුළුවන් නේද dog කෙනෙක්. ඒතකොට ආගෙන ඉතින් dog is animal. හැබැයි ගහලා තියෙන කොයිද බෝඩ් එකේ? animal clinic. ඒක ගහලා නැහැ dog clinic කියලා. හැබැයි ඔයාලට බය නැතුව dog අරන් යන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද animal clinic එකක්ද? හරි. So that is the advantage. හැබැයි යා ගහලා තියුණා නම් දැන් මට cat අරන් යන්න පුළුවන්. Because cat is animal. But assume there's a vet in your area and the board says dog clinic. Board එක ගහලා තියෙන animal clinic කියලා නෙමෙයි මොකද්ද dog clinic කියලා. දැන් මට පුළුවන් cat අරන් යන්න බෑ. Because it's not a dog cat clinic, it's a dog clinic. හැබැයි ඊට චුට්ටක් ඇවිත් animal clinic එක. ඒකට cat අරන් යන්න පුළුවන්. ඔය කියලා කියනවා cat is animal. Polymorphism. Polymorphism. Okay. So therefore, this is animal treat. So therefore, I can say my dog. Polymorphism. Okay. So that is why now I can run it because I have said the name also. Right. So my vet accept my dog. Actually, vet says that I only treat animals, but my vet accept dog because dog is animal. Now in the future, if I create a cat, cat is also accepted. As long as cat extends animal. Polymorphism. Okay, so now I can create a cat object and send that cat object also to that method. Cat. New cat. Let's call it C1. Let's call it kitty. And I can send my cat to the treat method because cat is an animal. No issue. Polymorphism. Then මම ගිහින් මේ treat method එක වෙනස් කරනවද නැහැ? අනාගතේ තව animal කෙනෙක් ආවොත් එයාවත් මේකට අයිති. Open close principle. Okay. Open close principle. Okay. Still I am not using interface. Now my dog is an animal. Dog is a dog. Now let's assume I want to introduce another role. So that role I will call it pet role. Okay, let's add another animal. Say lion. අපේ ගෙදර lion කෙනෙකුත් ඉන්නවා. Lion is also animal. Okay. Animal. දැන් මට මගේ lion object එකක් යවන්න පුළුවන් animal එකට. Treat එකට පුළුවන්. No issue because lion is animal. L1. Lion. L1. Let's call it Leo. V dot treat L1 because lion is animal. Now let's assume my vet has animal clinic and my vet has opened a new clinic. Maybe Mondays, Tuesdays animal clinic, Wednesdays there's a pet clinic. Pet clinic. හැබැයි ඒකට එවන්න පුළුවන් pet ලා විතරයි. Lion ලා එහෙම එවන්න බෑ. But lion is not a pet. Lion කියන්නේ සුරසා සතෙක් නෙමෙයි. For that let's introduce a new method. Void. Let's call it treat pets. And then we pets ලා කියන concept එක now we want to introduce the concept called pet because we are going to check only pet behaviors there. So therefore now I am going to create it because my dog is already extended from animal class. So therefore now it can't extend from another class called pet. Multiple inheritance is not supported. So therefore let's introduce the pet behavior using interface. Right? So new, of course you can start as Java class, but here there's an option called interface and I will call it pet. It is an interface, not a class. So there you can only give method signatures. Okay, so let's say there's a method called cuddle. Cuddle. But you can't implement because it's an interface. මෙහෙම ඇතුලේ code ලියන්න තානන් දැන් because this is an interface. Okay. Now in here I can say pet. Of course, pet is interface, but I can write my code saying that I expect a pet, and let's P has a behavior called cuddle. We can check whether that pet cuddles. Okay, whether that pet cuddle. But only pets can be sent to this method. Okay, only pets. But if a class implements pet, that class must implement cuddle behavior. That is a contract. That's a contract. So let's say my dog is a pet. How to say that? Dog extends animal, implements pet. Pet is interface. Now I get red code because when you say your dog is a pet, you must implement the cuddle method. You can see it's red now. It's red. Dog must either be declared abstract or implement abstract method cuddle in pet because it's a contract. It's a contract. So let's implement the cuddle method. Because if you are a pet, if your dog is a pet dog must have the cuddle method implemented. Okay. So let's say shout name we'll say cuddles. Or we'll say dog cuddles. Okay, cuddle. Right. So let's make it public. Right. So let's make our cat also pet. So therefore, I'm going to say animal X implements pet because my cat is also pet. Now again, my cat class must implement cuddle, otherwise this is not going to work. I say cat cuddle. My dog is a dog. My dog is animal. My dog is a pet. My cat is a cat. Cat is an animal. Cat is a pet. But what about my lion? Right. My lion is a lion. Lion is an animal, but lion is not a pet because I have not implemented the pet interface. Okay. So therefore, now my vet class has a treat pet method. To that, I can set my dog, I can set my cat, but I can't set my lion because lion is not a pet. But I can set my lion to the treat method, but not to the treat pets method. Okay, let's test. Right. So v dot treat pets. Why don't we get the treat pets? Maybe I have not saved it. Treat pets. It's already implemented, right? Why can't I see it? Okay, let's copy paste. And see whether we can send my D1 accepted because dog it's expecting a pet. I'm sending a dog because my dog is a pet. My dog is a pet, and I have even implemented the cuddle method. And not only that, I can send my cat. In the future also, if you create another class, as long as that class implement the pet interface, you can send that also, open close principle. Okay. But definitely you can't send your lion because it violate your contract. That is not allowed. You can see that because lion is not a pet. Right? So this is not allowed. So that is polymorphism. Now you can see that when you have interface introduced, you can write code to that interface. Right? You can write your code to that interface. Okay. So where is my vet? You can see I'm expecting a pet interface. මේ parameters විදියට interface පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් super type පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් හැබැයි ඒකට වට ගන්න පුළුවන් මොකද එයාගේ sub type පුළුවන් මේ interface එක implement කරපු ඕන එකෙනෙක් යන්න පුළුවන්. When pet is expected, I can send my dog. When pet interface is expected, I can send a lion, I can send a cat object. But I can't send a lion object because as long as lion class has not implemented the pet interface. Okay. දැන් මට cuddle method එක call කරන්න පුළුවන් dog ටයි cat ටයි. රන් කරලා බලමු දැන් cuddle මොකද cuddle method එක තමයි call කරන්න treat එකේදී හරි. Let's run. You can see dog cuddle, kitty cuddle. I know that you have not understood this 100%. තාම මේක හරියට ඇඟට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි නිකන් දැන් පොඩ්ඩක් ඇඟේ නිකන් හොල්මන් වගේ දැනෙන්න ඕන. මෙතන මොකක් හරි කතන්දරයක් යනවා කියලා. හරි. මොකක් හරි කතන්දරයක් යනවා නේ මේක තමයි ප්‍රධාන කතන්දරේ object oriented software development. ප්‍රධාන කතන්දරේ. හැබැයි ඔයාලට තාම මොකක් ප්‍රධාන කතන්දරේ කියලා තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. බහුතරයට නෙමෙයි සමහර එක්කෙනෙක්ට තාම එහෙම තේරෙලා නැති වෙයි. But struggle with this. Think about this. Start developing software. So when you start developing software only, you will find that, okay, I need this feature. I need that feature. So otherwise I can't proceed from this point. අන්න එහෙම තමයි මේක ඉගෙන ගන්න. හැබැයි දැන් එතනට අවශ්‍යතාවයට ආවමට අගමතක් කරන ඔන්න ඉන්ටර්ෆේස් එකක් දාන්න නම් හරි. සුපර් ක්ලාස් එක එක්ස්ටෙන්ඩ් කරා නම් හරි කියලා තේරෙයි. හරි විශේෂයෙන්ම framework පාවිච්චි කරලා software develop කරන්න පටන් ගත්තා. Okay? Right. So any question? Because we are done with polymorphism. Okay. We are done with polymorphism. So I just implement this particular example. Okay. So I introduce an interface called pet. Then my dog extends animal and implement pet. So therefore I implement the cuddle method. Now my vet class, right? My vet class has a treat pet, which is expecting pet. And I can send my dog, I can send my cat, but I can't send my lion because lion class has not implemented the pet interface. එහෙම හැම interface එකම හැමෝම implement කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. එයා ඒක role එක play කරනවා නම් විතරයි implement කරන්නේ. හරි. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට හැම class එකක්ම මේ action listener interface එක implement කරන්නේ නැහැ. action listener role එක play කරනවා නම් විතරයි implement කරන්නේ. ඒකේ UI develop කරනකොට හරි තේරෙයි. දැන් ඔය මේ implements කියන එක තේරෙන්නේ නැති තාක්කල් UI develop කරන්න බෑ. කවදා හරි මේ interface කියන්නේ මොකද්ද polymorphism කියන්නේ ඉගෙනගෙන ඉවරලා ඒක අවුරුදු 90 දී හරි. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි graphical user interface එක develop කරන්න පටන් ගන්න. එතකන් මට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. අඳුර අතපත ගන්න. එතකන් මට job එකට CV එකක් දාන්න හිතෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයා දන්න මම අනාථ වෙනවා job එකට ගියොත් කියලා. එතන මොනවා කරයිද දන්නේ නැහැ. හරි කියලා වඩ හිතෙනවා. ඒක සාධාරණයි. ඒකට ඒක වාට නැති වෙන්නේ කවදාද? මේක ඉක් තේරුම් ගත්ත දවසට. දැන් කවුරු හරි මට කිව්වොත් හරි ඔයා හෙට ඉඳලා වැඩට එන්නේ Intel එකේ කියලා. මම නම් ගිහලා හැංගෙනවා. මොකද මම ওই පොඩ්ඩක් ඔය logic gates එකෙන් හිටියට මට මේ microprocessor එකක් design කරගන්න තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. කවුරු හරි මට කිව්වොත් මේ හෙට ඉඳලා ඇවිල්ලා අපේ hospital එකේ මේ bypass කරන්න නෙමෙයි මේ මැහුම් දාන්න කියලා. මට මැහුම් දාන්නේ මට කලන්තය ඇතුළත ලේ දැක ගන්න. මොකද මට ඒ complexity එක handle කරගන්න බෑ මට code complexity එක handle කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ පැත්තට තමන්ට පුළුවන් දේවල් තියෙනවා බැරි දේවල් තියෙනවා. සමහරට develop කරගන්න පුළුවන් දේවල්. දැන් ඔයාලට මම කියන්නේ ඔයා දැන් මේ පැත්තේ ඉන්න ඕන නම් මේක develop කරගන්න. වැඩි ඕනේ නැහැ කවුරුන් මට කිව්වොත් මේ ස්ටේජ් එකේ නේද සින්දුවක් කියන කියලා මම හැංගෙනවා. මොකද මට මේ ටැලන්ට් එක නැහැ. හරි මට ඒ ටැලන්ට් එක නෑ සින්දුවක් කියන ටැලන්ට් එක. හැබැයි මම කවදා හරි මට ගායකයෙක් වෙන්න ඕන නම් මම ඒක ටැලන්ට් එක බිල් කරනවා. නැත්තම් මම ගායකයෙක් නොවී ඉන්නවා. ඒක තමයි හරි. ඔයාට ඒතර IT field එක යනවා නම් මේ ටැලන්ට්ස් බිල් කරගන්න. IT field එක යනවා. නැත්තම් ඔයා වෙන field එක යන්න. හරි. වෙන field එක යන්න. ඔයාට යන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි IT field එක යනවා නම් මේ ටැලන්ට්ස් බිල් කරගන්න. නැතුව ඔයා නිකන් හිතන්න එපා ඔටෝමැටිකලි ඩිග්‍රී එකක් ගත්තට පස්සේ මම software engineer මම IT professional නෑ එහෙම නිකන් වෙන්නේ නෑ. එහෙම වෙන්නේ නෑ කියන්නේ ඔයාම තේරුම් ගන්න මම අනාථ වෙනවා එතකොට කියලා. ගියාම මොන ඕන්ඩි වෙනවා කියලා. හරි. ඒකත් මම තේරුම් ගන්න අවශ්‍ය කට්ටිය. Right. So then there's a concept called interface can be extended from another interface. So then if a particular class implement particular interface in super types also, now you have implements and blah, blah, blah. Those things you can read and understand, right? Something like interface can be extended from another interface and so on. ඒවා අමතර දේවල්. Okay. And in polymorphism, in code frameworks, polymorphism is the main concept. There's nothing else. Okay. So there's a concept called libraries and frameworks. The libraries, you just call that library. But frameworks, framework call your code. Framework call your code. Okay. So that is the difference between library and framework. So using a library is a simple thing. But using a framework, it's a serious stuff. You must understand all these concepts before you commit to a framework. ඒක හරි කසාදයක් බඳිනවා වගේ. හරි? දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්න හැමෝම එම නැහැ. දැන් ඔයා තනියෙන් ඉන්න බොහොම නිදාසේ. හරි. ඊට පස්සේ කසාදයක් බඳිනවා. සමහරවිට ඒ බඳින පුද්ගලයන් සමහරවිට කසාදයක් බැඳ දවසේල වයිෆ් ඔයාව කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරනවා. ඒකයි හොඳට කල්පනා කරලා බඳින්න කියලා. සමහර කැමති අනිත් ඒවා කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරා. සමහරට ඔයගොල්ලෝ අම්මලා තාත්තලා ඔයගොල්ලන්ව ඕනට කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරනවා. හරි කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඒක ඉපදුනේ පවුලට අම්මා තාත්තා යටතේ ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලෝ ඔයාව කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරනවා. සමහරට අවුරුදු පොඩි කාලේ කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරන්න ඕන. මොකද ඔයාලට ඇඟේ චූ යනවා. හැබැයි ඒගොල්ලෝ අමතක කරනවා දැන් ඔයා ලොකුයි කියලා. හරි. ඔන්න ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එක. හරි. ඒගොල්ලන් අහලා තමයි ගෙදරින් යන්න ඕනේ. ඒගොල්ලන් අහලා තමයි අරවා කරන්න ඕනේ, මේවා කරන්න ඕනේ, අනිත් ඒවා කරන්න ඕනේ, කසාදයක් ගන්න ගන්න ඕනේ. කෙල්ලෙක් එක්ක යාළු වෙන්න ඕනේ. මොකද මේ ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එක ඇතුලේ හිර වෙලා දැන්. ඒ සමහර අම්මලා තාත්තලා එහෙම නැහැ. දැන් වට 19යි 20යි දැන් ඔයාගේ තීරණ ගන්නවා අධ්‍යාපනය වගේ තීරණ ගන්න. දැන් අපි හැබැයි වට කන්න බොන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් තව ටික දවසක් ගියාට පස්සේ බොයිරෝල් දානවා ගෙදරින්. දැන් ඔබ ලොකු එකෙක්. අන්න ඒ වෙන කතන්දරයක්. ඒ ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එක ටයිට්ලි කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරන්න. හැබැයි ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එක ඇතුලේ කන්ට්‍රෝල් වෙන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා. ඒක කන්ට්‍රෝල් වෙන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා නම් ඒවට අනුව හැඩ ගහන්න වෙනවා. එක්ක නැත්නම් ඒ ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එක යූස් නොකර ඉන්නවා. හරියට තේරුම් ගන්න ඕන. හරි. හරියට තේරුම් ගන්න. පොලිටික්ස් වලට යන්න පුළුවන්, සෝෂියොලොජි වලට යන්න පුළුවන්, ඉංජිනේරින් වලට යන්න පුළුවන්, සොෆ්ට්වෙයාර් ඉංජිනේරින් වලට යන්න පුළුවන්, හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් වලට යන්න පුළුවන්, ඉලෙක්ට්‍රොනික වලට යන්න පුළුවන්. මේ කතන්දර හැමතිස්සෙම එකයි. මේ කතන්දර ඔක්කොම එකයි. දැන් এডুকেෂන් ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එකක් ඇතුළේ ඉගෙන ගත්තේ නේද? එතකොට 7යි 10ට ඉස්කෝලේ යනවා. නේද? ඒක කමිට් කරන এডুকেෂන් ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් 7යි 10ට ඉස්කෝලේ යන්න ඕන, ප්‍රින්සිපල් කින් බැනුම් ගන්න ඕන. පරක් වෙලා ගියොත් එහෙම කුණු හැදින්න ඕන, දනගාගෙන ඉන්න ඕන. මොකද ඒ ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එක ඇතුළේ දැන් ඉන්නේ. හැබැයි ටියුෂන් ක්ලාස් එකේ එහෙම ලොකු ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එකක් නැහැ. ලයිට් වේට් ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඉස්කෝලේ තියෙනවා හෙවි ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එකක්. ටියුෂන් ක්ලාස් එකේ තියෙනවා ලයිට් වේට් ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එකක්. ඒක ඇතුළේ ඔයාලට සුදු වෙනදා යන්න ඕනෙත් නැහැ. හැබැයි ඔයාලට ඕනරෙඩි සෙල්ලම් දාන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අච්චර කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරන්න. It's a lightweight framework. School heavy framework. Heavy framework. Government schools. මම තේරුම් ගන්න හරියට. ඒතර හරිය ජීවිතේ තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද්ද මේ ජීවත් වෙනවා කියන්නේ? හරි. ඇයි අපි අනිත් අය අපිව කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරන්නේ? අපි අනිත් අයව කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරන එක හරියද? කොහොමද මේ කන්ට්‍රෝල් එකෙන් මිදෙන්නේ? ඒක ජීවත් වෙනවා කියන්නේ. software develop කරන එක විතර නෙමෙයි ජීවිතය කියන්නේ. software develop කරන්න, ජීවිතේ ජීවත් වෙන්න, ලෝකෙත් තේරුම් ගන්න. හරි සුන්දරයි. ඔයාගේ අනිත් අයට කරදරයක්වත් නැහැ. අනිත් අයගෙන් ඔයාට කරදරයක්වත් නැහැ. මොකද ඔයා දන්නවා මේක මෙතන වෙන්නේ මේකයි, මෙතන වෙන්නේ මේකයි. මෙතන වෙන මෙකනිසම් එක මේකයි. Right. That's it about object oriented programming. Okay.